The world outside the window is a blur of motion, a watercolor painting of greens and greys streaking past at an astonishing pace. Inside this gleaming white capsule, however, everything is remarkably calm. A cup of tea sits on the table before me, its surface barely trembling as we glide across the vast plains of eastern China. The digital display at the end of the carriage reads 348 kilometers per hour. It's a speed that once belonged only to the realm of aviation, yet here we are, firmly on the ground, slicing through the landscape with the quiet efficiency of a surgeon's scalpel. It is a truly mesmerizing experience, watching a country unfold before your very eyes, not from a detached height of 30,000 feet, but from a perspective that keeps you connected to the Earth. This is travel aboard China's high-speed rail network, an immense system of steel arteries that has fundamentally reshaped how people move across this enormous nation. These trains, often called fuxing or hexi, meaning rejuvenation and harmony, are more than just a means of transport. They are a statement of intent. They represent a new era of travel where convenience, speed, and comfort converge. The sensation is less like a traditional train journey with its familiar clatter and sway, and more like floating. You see cities rise on the horizon, pass through them in minutes, and then watch them recede into the distance, all while you sit comfortably, perhaps reading a book or chatting with the person next to you. For decades, the aeroplane was the undisputed king of long-distance travel in China, a symbol of modernity and progress. To fly from Beijing to Shanghai was the quickest way to bridge the 1,300-kilometer gap between the nation's political and financial needs. But that monarchy is now being challenged. A quiet revolution is taking place on the ground, led by these magnificent bullet trains. They have woven a web connecting megacities and provincial towns alike, creating a viable and often superior alternative to hopping on a short-haul flight. The journey is no longer just about the destination, but about the seamless, almost futuristic experience of getting there. On this particular journey, I see fellow passengers working on laptops, families sharing snacks, and business travelers conducting quiet conversations on their phones. There is a sense of productive calm that one rarely finds in the stressed, hurried environment of an airport. The train is a moving corridor of modern life, a place where the hectic pace of the outside world is suspended, even as you hurtle across it at breathtaking speed. This feeling of serene progress is precisely why millions are choosing the rails over the runways, marking a profound shift in the very rhythm of travel in the 21st century. There is a simple guideline that has emerged among savvy travelers in China, a sort of rule of thumb for deciding between a train and a plane. It's called the 5-hour rule. If a high-speed train journey between two cities takes roughly 5 hours or less, it is almost always the better choice. This might seem counterintuitive at first glance. After all, an aeroplane cruising at over 800 kilometers per hour is much faster than a train traveling at 350. However, the calculation of total travel time is not measured by the speed of the vehicle alone, but by the entire door-to-door experience, and this is where the train reveals its decisive advantage. A flight from, say, Changsha to Guangzhou might only last about an hour and a half in the air. But that single hour is bookended by a long and often frustrating series of procedures. First, you must travel to the airport, which is almost always located on the far outskirts of a city, a taxi or metro ride that can easily take an hour or more. Then, you must arrive at the terminal at least 2 hours before your flight to navigate check-in queues, security screenings, and the long walk to your departure gate. All this time adds up, turning a short flight into a half-day ordeal before you have even left the ground. In contrast, the high-speed train journey for the same route takes just under 3 hours. The critical difference lies in the location of the railway stations. China's new high-speed rail hubs are often built directly in city centres or are seamlessly integrated into the urban metro systems, making them incredibly easy to reach. You can comfortably arrive at the station just 20 to 30 minutes before your train is scheduled to depart. There are no lengthy check-in processes or intrusive security checks for liquids. You simply scan your ticket, walk to your platform, and step onto the train. It is an exercise in efficiency. When you tally up the entire process, the travel to the terminal, the waiting, the boarding, and the journey itself, the train consistently comes out ahead on these medium-distance corridors. The 5-hour rule holds true because rail travel eliminates the dead time that plagues air travel. The time you spend on the train is productive and relaxing, a stark contrast to the stressful stop-and-start nature of getting through an airport. For journeys like Beijing to Shanghai, a 4.5-hour train ride has become the default choice for business and leisure travelers alike, leaving the airlines to fight for the remaining passengers. Let us paint a clearer picture by comparing two hypothetical journeys from a downtown apartment in one city to a hotel in another, 800 kilometers away. Our first traveler chooses to fly. Their day begins with a sense of urgency. A taxi must be hailed for the hour-long trip to the airport, navigating through dense city traffic. Upon arrival at the sprawling, often confusing airport terminal, they join a queue to check their luggage, followed by another for security, where laptops must be removed and belts taken off. Finally, after a long walk to the gate, they wait. The flight is delayed by 30 minutes due to air traffic control, a common occurrence. The flight itself is brief, but upon landing, there is the wait for the plane to taxi to the gate, the disembarking, and the long walk to baggage reclaim, where another 20 minutes are spent watching the carousel go round and round. Finally, another hour-long taxi ride from the destination airport into the city centre brings them to their hotel. The total journey time? Nearly 6 hours of fragmented, stressful travel. Our second traveller opts for the high-speed train. Their morning is far more relaxed. They take a quick 15-minute metro ride from a station near their apartment directly to the central railway station. Since they booked an e-ticket on their phone, they walk straight to the ticket gates, scan a QR code, and pass through a swift security check. With 20 minutes to spare, they grab a coffee before strolling to the platform. The train arrives precisely on time. They find their seat, place their suitcase in the generous luggage rack above, and settle in. The journey takes 3.5 hours, during which they read, watch a film on their tablet using the train's Wi-Fi, and enjoy the scenery. Upon arrival, the train pulls into a station located right in the heart of the destination city. There is no waiting for luggage. They simply pick up their bag and walk off the train. Within 5 minutes, they are on the local subway, and 15 minutes later, they are checking into their hotel, feeling refreshed and ready for their afternoon meeting. Their total journey time is just over 4 hours. It was not only faster, but also immeasurably smoother and more predictable. The train offered a continuous, uninterrupted experience, while the flight was a series of disjointed and often frustrating segments. This stark contrast illustrates exactly why the railway has become so compelling. The reliability of the train is another key factor. While flights are frequently at the mercy of weather conditions like fog or thunderstorms, and subject to constant airspace restrictions, China's high-speed rail network boasts an impressive punctuality rate, often exceeding 95%. For a business traveller who needs to be at a meeting at a specific time, or a family wanting to start their holiday without stress, this predictability is invaluable. The train has transformed travel from a game of chance into a matter of clockwork precision, a promise that the world of aviation struggles to match on these shorter routes. In the past, booking any form of travel in China could be a daunting task for an outsider, involving language barriers and unfamiliar systems. However, The process of securing a seat on a high-speed train has become remarkably straightforward, reflecting the system's modern, user-centric design. The primary gateway for tickets is the official 12306 app and website, a powerful platform that allows passengers to view schedules, select seats, and purchase tickets with just a few taps on a smartphone. While the platform was initially only in Chinese, it has become increasingly accessible, and a plethora of reputable third-party agents offer the same service in English for a small fee. The entire system is built around digital, ticketless travel. Once you have made a booking using your name and passport number, you receive an e-ticket in the form of a QR code. There is no need to print anything out. When you arrive at the station, you simply scan your passport or the QR code on your phone at the gate, and it opens automatically, granting you access to the platform. This seamless integration of technology removes a significant point of friction from the travel process. It eliminates the worry of losing a paper ticket and does away with the long queues that once snaked around ticket office windows, especially during peak travel seasons. Of course, one must be mindful of the sheer demand. During major national holidays like the Lunar New Year or Golden Week, tickets can sell out within minutes of being released. This is a testament to the railway's immense popularity. Millions of people are on the move, and the system, despite its enormous capacity, is stretched to its limits. For travellers, this means planning ahead is crucial. Booking tickets as soon as they become available, typically 15 to 30 days in advance, is essential to secure a spot. However, for regular travel on non-peak days, booking a day or two before is often sufficient. This ease of booking stands in stark contrast to the often more complex world of airline ticketing. While booking a flight online is simple enough, the process is often riddled with ancillary fees for seat selection, checked baggage, and other services. The pricing can be volatile, changing from one hour to the next based on demand. Train ticket prices, on the other hand, are fixed and transparent. You know exactly what you are paying for, and the price includes a generous luggage allowance. This simplicity and predictability in the booking process further enhance the appeal of rail travel, making it feel more honest and passenger-friendly from the very first click. Stepping aboard a Chinese high-speed train is like entering a different world compared to the cramped confines of a typical short-haul aeroplane. The first thing you notice is the space. The aisles are wider and the seats are significantly more generous, both in width and in legroom. Even in a standard second-class carriage, there is ample room to stretch your legs, recline your seat comfortably, and not feel as though you are intruding on your neighbour's personal space. This sense of spaciousness immediately reduces the stress of travel, allowing you to settle in and relax rather than feel confined for the duration of your journey. Beyond the physical space, the amenities on board are designed for the modern traveller. Every seat, or at least every pair of seats, comes equipped with a power socket, allowing you to keep your phone, laptop, or tablet charged throughout the journey. This is a small but critical feature that many airlines are still struggling to implement consistently across their fleets. Furthermore, most trains offer complimentary Wi-Fi. While the connection speed can vary depending on the terrain, it slows down when passing through the many tunnels that dot the network. It is generally stable enough for sending messages, browsing the web, or catching up on emails. This connectivity turns travel time into productive time. The experience is also remarkably quiet. Thanks to advanced engineering and the continuous welded rails the trains run on, the characteristic clickety-clack sound of old-fashioned train travel is completely absent. Instead, there is just a low, consistent hum, even at top speed. You can have a conversation without raising your voice, listen to music without needing noise-cancelling headphones, or simply enjoy the silence. This peaceful environment is a world away from the deafening roar of jet engines during takeoff and the constant drone of the cabin at cruising altitude. It makes the journey itself a restful part of your day. Finally, there is the simple convenience of luggage. Airlines are notoriously strict with their baggage policies, charging hefty fees for bags that exceed a certain weight or size. On a high-speed train, the rules are far more lenient. You can bring a large suitcase and a carry-on bag with you at no extra cost, storing the larger item in the dedicated luggage racks at the end of the carriage and placing the smaller one on the shelf above your seat. This freedom from baggage anxiety removes yet another layer of stress from the travel equation, reinforcing the train's reputation as the more comfortable and convenient choice. In an age where the environmental impact of our choices is becoming increasingly important, the comparison between high-speed rail and air travel presents a clear winner. The ecological argument for choosing the train is one of its most powerful and future-facing advantages. Chinese high-speed trains are powered entirely by electricity, which is fed to them through overhead lines stretching across the network. While the source of that electricity is still a mix of coal, renewables, and nuclear power, the train itself produces zero direct emissions. This makes it a significantly cleaner mode of transport per passenger kilometre compared to a jet aircraft. An aeroplane, by its very nature, is a flying combustion engine, burning vast quantities of kerosene-based jet fuel and releasing carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and other pollutants directly into the upper atmosphere, where they can have a more potent warming effect. A single short-haul flight can have a surprisingly large carbon footprint for each passenger. As travellers become more conscious of their environmental responsibilities, the option to take a journey that is not only faster and more comfortable, but also kinder to the planet becomes incredibly compelling. The train offers a way to travel responsibly without sacrificing convenience. The environmental benefits extend beyond just emissions. Noise pollution is another significant factor. Airports generate a tremendous amount of noise, affecting the quality of life for residents living for miles around. The roar of jet engines can be a constant disturbance. High-speed trains, while not silent, are dramatically quieter. Their sleek, aerodynamic design and the smooth interface between wheel and rail mean that their acoustic footprint is minimal, especially when compared to the thunderous noise of an aircraft taking off or landing. As these rail lines cut through the country, they do so with a much lighter touch on the ears of those living nearby. Furthermore, as China continues its ambitious push to decarbonize its power grid, the environmental credentials of its high-speed rail network will only improve. With every new solar panel, wind turbine, or hydroelectric dam that is added to the national grid, the electricity powering the trains becomes cleaner. This creates a virtuous cycle where advancements in green energy directly translate into greener transport. The future of high-speed rail in China is tied to the future of clean energy, positioning it as a sustainable transport backbone for the decades to come, a path that the aviation industry, with its heavy reliance on fossil fuels, will find much harder to follow. The staggering success of China's high-speed rail has not gone unnoticed by the country's airlines. They have felt the impact directly, particularly on their most profitable short-haul domestic routes. The competition is not just a minor nuisance, it is an existential threat to the viability of flights connecting cities within a few hours' train ride of each other. On routes like Beijing-Shanghai or Guangzhou-Shenzhen, where high-speed rail offers a faster, more reliable and more comfortable city centre-to-city centre service, airlines have seen their market share plummet. Passengers have voted with their feet, or rather, with their choice of wheels over wings. In response to this formidable challenge, airlines have been forced to rethink their business strategies. One of the most common reactions has been to reduce or completely eliminate flights on routes that are now dominated by high-speed trains. It simply no longer makes financial sense to compete head-to-head on a corridor where the train takes 4 hours and the total air journey takes 6. Instead of flying half-empty planes at a loss, carriers are redeploying their aircraft to routes where they still hold a clear advantage. Long-haul domestic flights to remote western provinces, or, more significantly, international routes. This strategic retreat has led to a rebalancing of the entire transport ecosystem. Airlines are focusing on what they do best, covering vast distances quickly. They are strengthening their roles as connectors to the rest of the world, flying passengers from major hubs like Shanghai, Beijing, and Guangzhou to destinations in Europe, North America, and across Asia. In a way, the high-speed rail network has become a feeder system for these international flights. A passenger from a city like Nanjing might take a 1-hour train to Shanghai to catch a flight to London, a journey that is far more efficient than taking a connecting flight. To remain competitive on the few remaining short-haul routes where they still operate, airlines have also had to get creative. They have engaged in aggressive price wars, offering tickets at deeply discounted rates to lure back budget-conscious travellers. Some have also tried to improve their service, promoting so-called air-rail ticketing that allows a passenger to book a combined train and flight journey on a single ticket. However, these measures often feel like a rearguard action. The fundamental advantages of the train in terms of convenience and reliability are difficult to overcome, and for millions of travellers, the choice has already been made. Beyond the cold, hard data of travel times and carbon emissions lies the human experience, and it is here that the true quality of a journey is measured. Travel can be a stressful affair, filled with anxiety, queues, and a sense of being rushed. The high-speed rail system in China seems to have been designed with a deep understanding of these human factors, aiming to create an experience that is as smooth and serene as possible. The entire process feels less confrontational and more welcoming than its airborne counterpart, a subtle but profound difference that resonates with passengers from all walks of life. Consider the simple act of boarding. In an airport, you are herded into lines, your belongings are scrutinized, and you are often made to feel like a potential threat. The atmosphere is one of suspicion. At a high-speed train station, the process is firm but efficient. Security is present but less invasive. The staff, from the ticket checkers to the attendants on the platform, guide passengers with a calm authority. There is a sense of order and collective purpose, rather than a chaotic scramble. This environment sets a positive tone for the journey before you even step on the train, allowing you to begin your trip with a clear and relaxed mind. On board, the design continues to prioritize human comfort. The large windows provide a constant, engaging connection to the world outside, turning the journey into a scenic tour rather than a detached transit. Unlike on a plane where you might get a fleeting glimpse of clouds, the train offers a rich tapestry of life. Farms, villages, futuristic cityscapes, and winding rivers. This visual connection to the landscape helps to pass the time in a far more pleasant way than staring at the back of the seat in front of you. It makes you feel part of the country you are traveling through, not just flying over it. This focus on a better human experience is what truly cements the preference for rail. It's the ability to walk around freely to the dining car for a hot meal, the civility of having a quiet conversation without shouting over engine noise, and the relief of arriving in the city centre, ready to continue your day without a long, tiring final leg of the journey. The system respects the passenger's time, comfort, and intelligence. It treats travel not as a necessary evil to be endured, but as an integral and even enjoyable part of life's journey. This human-centric philosophy is the railway's secret weapon. The rise of high-speed rail in China is more than just a story about trains and planes. It is a glimpse into the future of domestic and even regional travel worldwide. What has happened in China over the last decade and a half is a powerful demonstration of how transformative, large-scale infrastructure investment can fundamentally alter society's rhythms. It shows that when given a choice between flying and a genuinely competitive rail alternative, people will often choose the ground. This has profound implications for how we will plan our cities, conduct our business, and spend our leisure time in the years to come. As the network continues to expand, connecting ever more cities and reducing journey times even further, the 5-hour rule may well become the 7-hour rule. Engineers are already testing next-generation maglev trains that could travel at speeds of 600 kilometers per hour, potentially cutting the Beijing to Shanghai journey to a mere 2.5 hours. At those speeds, rail would not just dominate short-haul travel, it would render a significant portion of the domestic aviation market obsolete. This relentless innovation suggests that the peak of rail's influence is still far in the future. This shift could inspire other nations to reconsider their own transport priorities. For countries with densely populated corridors like those in Europe, India, or the United States, the Chinese model offers a compelling blueprint. It shows that investing in high-speed rail is not just about building a railway. It is about building economic corridors, fostering closer ties between cities, reducing carbon emissions, and improving the overall quality of life for citizens. The convenience of being able to live in one city and commute to another 300 kilometers away for a meeting becomes a real possibility, redefining the very concepts of distance and community. Ultimately, the journey itself is being redefined. For a century, speed was synonymous with flight. But China's high-speed rail has shown that true speed is not just about how fast you move, but about the efficiency of the entire process. It is a holistic measure of time, comfort, and reliability. The future of travel may not be about ever faster planes, but about creating an integrated, seamless, and sustainable network on the ground that connects us more closely and more pleasantly than ever before. As I look out the window at the passing landscape, it is clear that these steel rails are not just tracks of transport, but pathways to a new and smarter way of moving through the world.